Welcome back to the Leadership Collective podcast series, AI and the Future of Talent. I'm your host, Tommy Hansen from Juniper Square. In episode 1, we explored how AI is transforming how we recruit talent. In today's episode, I'm joined by someone I work closely with every day, Vittoria Reimers, our SVP of People here at Juniper Square. Victoria has been at the heart of our AI enablement strategies, really helping to embed AI into our core competencies across the company, shifting our culture, and guiding us on how we bring people and technology together. Today's episode goes beyond hiring. This episode is about how the people team can take the lead in driving AI adoption across the business. From change management to skills development, we'll explore what it really takes to lead through transformation. Thank you so much for joining me today, Victoria.
Thank you, Tommy. I'm excited to be here.
Before we jump into today's topic, I think it'd be helpful for our listeners for us to paint a picture of how Juniper Square operates our current stage as a business. We're going through rapid growth, we're increasing our innovation, we're expanding globally, all on top of this AI transformation initiative. How would you describe Juniper Square's operating principles and our culture and our values?
Sure. So why don't I start with a little bit of a profile of the company? We were founded about 10 years ago by three of our co-founders who are still with the company today in various different roles, including CEO at the company. Our vision as a company is to radically improve the way that the private markets work, to make them more efficient, transparent, and accessible. So the way that you can think about that is we want to make it as easy to trade a share in a private building as it is to trade a share of, say, GM stock. So that is what we're aiming for over the long run. We started as a software company building software for real estate private equity managers. And over the past several years, we've expanded to become multi-asset. So not just looking at real estate, but now looking at private equity, venture capital. And we've also expanded beyond software to deliver a lot of different services for our customers. Probably the one that most of our listeners have heard of is fund administration. So today we have about 750 employees, whom we call Junies, really across the globe. Most of our Junies are in the U.S. We've got about 200 in India. We started hiring in India in January of last year, so that growth has been over a year and a half, which is really wild to think about. And major props to you, Tommy, and the rest of the people team at Juniper Square. We've got about 70 folks in Canada, and then most recently, we just bought a business in Luxembourg. And through that, we welcomed 15 new Junies to our team. We are a Series D company. We just had a big fundraise, as well as, along with that fundraise, announced our plans for Junie AI, which is really how we're diving into the world of AI from a customer standpoint. So that's a bit about the company in terms of profile. I interview a lot, so I get asked quite frequently what it is that keeps me at Juniper Square. And it really is the culture. And when you break that down, there are a couple ways that I would describe the culture at Juniper Square. The first thing that I think is really loud and clear at our company, and that comes up a lot in our engagement surveys, is our focus on transparency as a business. And that really comes from the top down. My favorite example of how we live this at Juniper Square is the fact that after every board meeting, our CEO meets with the company and gives everyone an overview of what was discussed at the board meeting. Now, obviously, we don't go through all 140 pages of the board deck, but we do focus on company strategy, where are we headed, what are some of our challenges and opportunities, and go through our financials. And that's a really great way to help everyone across the organization see where we're headed. The second thing that I share with candidates is that this is a really ambitious company. We are building something for the long run. When we think about the change that we want to make for the industry, we think about it over the course of 10 or 15 years. So we are really trying to change the industry, fundamentally trying to change the underpinnings of something truly for the long run. And I think what that does is it attracts people that want to solve hard problems. It attracts people that take the long view, that want to get into the details, that want to think about how we can truly make change in the private markets. And I think that's something that's really palpable at Juniper Square. Another way I describe the culture, and this is something we've been focusing on more recently, is this concept of execution velocity. So how do we at Juniper Square move with strategic speed? There's very much a sentiment at Juniper Square that we are in control of our destiny. It is really up to us to how we execute on our goals and our vision. And that's what's going to help us be or determine whether we're successful or not. So that's a big one, and it's against that backdrop that we've really dived into AI over the last year or so. The other thing that I'd mention here, we have 5 company values, but one that I would highlight here is the value of think like an owner. So that really means, how do you own the white space around you? If you see a problem, it's really up to you to jump on it, go lead it, go solve it, find a solution. And I think that has also very much set the tone for how we think about AI at Juniper Square.
Thank you for walking us through that. And it's been such an exciting journey. And I think you highlighted a lot of the key things that really attract a lot of talent here, but are also at the core pillar of how we've been able to effectively adapt and change and really incorporate AI into our culture and who we are today as a company and where we're going. The whole topic around AI is so interesting, though, because none of us really know where we're going. And so I would be really curious to hear from your perspective at Juniper Square, where did it all begin? Can you take us back to that first conversation as an executive team? And then how did you go from that conversation to saying, you know what, we're actually going to lead this from a people perspective? I think a lot of our listeners maybe are on this journey or are kind of envisioning this journey, and they think, oh, this is probably led by security or some other teams. But very early on, you really helped set the tone that this is going to be led in partnership across the company, but really by the people team. Would love to hear more about that.
Yes. It's hard to remember the first conversation about AI because I would say that there were many. It came up in almost every leadership team meeting that we had, and it was very much driven by our CEO. And there's very much the sentiment of, this change is not just coming, but it is here, and we need to move quickly, and we need to get ahead of the business and the industry. And I think for the first couple of conversations, they were very much exploratory, trying to understand what was this shift that we are seeing in our environment. What is our perspective on it? What type of attitude do we want to take towards AI? And how are we going to drag that into, or how are we going to transform that into a strategy that we can execute? So the first couple of conversations, I would say, were very much exploratory. But I remember there was one meeting we had where one of our R&D leaders had spent a bunch of his own time um, basically coming up with a product roadmap for AI. And he went through ChatGPT, he built a prototype, and he brought it to the leadership team. And I think that was kind of our aha moment of just how powerful this technology is and can be. And also how low the barrier is to actually be able to interact with it and learn from it. So I think you need to very much get over that kind of initial hump of going from 0 to 1. And that's a lot of what we focused on with our internal enablement. So that was kind of, I think, our moment as a leadership team. We very quickly jumped on bringing the broader leadership team in together to build that kind of ownership and accountability. So one of the first things that we did as a leadership team was to bring together our maybe 30 or so leaders across the organization for an initiative that we called AI Demo Week. So it's fairly ambiguous, but the idea was to get everyone talking, get the momentum going. We invited everyone to San Francisco, and the ask was to pitch a way to, or pitch a tool or a way to build out or use AI within their functions. And there were various awards for different categories, but the winner would get funding for their initiative. So this was a great way to build, again, a sense of ownership among the broader leadership team. I would say that as all this was going on, I was kind of going through my own journey with AI, where personally I knew this big thing is not just coming, it is here, as I said. And I was figuring out what role I wanted to play in that and how I was going to interact with it. So I was experimenting with it on the side, really trying to take this mindset of, if you have friction or you have a problem, go to AI first to figure out how to solve it. And what I was learning throughout that is how much this is a question of culture and mindset, that if you have the right mindset, anybody can take this on. And that was very much something that we were already leading within the people team through this concept of execution velocity and how we think about building our culture. So I thought it fit very nicely within that theme that we were already very focused on. The other thing I would say is that the other reason I felt it was important for the people team to lead this was because I wanted to make sure that we were approaching it with our juniors in a way that was not intimidating. And I think if you have someone from, say, a very technical role leading this, others may feel, well, I'm not in a technical role. I may never get this. But coming from the people team, I very much felt that this would be something that was relatable, that was not intimidating, and that anyone on the organization felt like they could be a part of and be driving forward.
I love that. And I love that you highlighted AI Demo Week. I was very honored to be a part of that and someone who got to present, and you were along that journey with me. And I think my key takeaway from that goes back to your point around just getting started and not being intimidated, just start having the conversation. I'm one of those who wouldn't have identified as technical before that, but being able to jump in and start looking at different vendors, talking to other leaders, see what they're doing to put together something to present in front of my peers and my leadership group was really cool. And it was so much fun. I think for those listening, we did it in the format of Shark Tank. So if you're familiar with the TV show, that's very big in the US, there's celebrity investors who come in and entrepreneurs pitch a product to them and then they invest. We very much took that route here at AI Demo Week. Our leadership team were the judges. And so it's really cool to be able to present these visions across the company. But I think it really did help eliminate a lot of that intimidation and realize we're all on this journey together, and then get some creativity going, but also going back to that value of think like an owner. Each department head now had that responsibility of thinking, how am I going to dramatically transform the way that my team, my department operates? And we're feeling that momentum every day at Juniper Square. And it's probably been 3 or 4 months now since we had that in San Francisco. So going from AI Demo Week to the last, few months, what are some of the other things that you've helped implement across the company that you feel like is really helping us to shift this mindset and really transform AI into how we operate today?
Sure. There are a number of things that we've done so far and that are currently, or as we speak, underway. One is that we launched an enablement program or training program for juniors across the organization to help them get up to speed on AI. And our focus there was again on the folks that are going from 0 to 1. So people who maybe never have interacted with AI or have done it maybe once or twice, but really didn't feel like they were comfortable. And the reason we focused there was we wanted to make it accessible. We wanted to take this big, ambiguous concept and help break it down into bite-sized chunks that people could really digest. And our view is if you have that initial moment where you see success, the rest, you're going to get comfortable with the rest and it'll come naturally. So what we've done on the enablement side is we took a peer-to-peer learning model. So we had juniors presenting to other juniors. We've had 3 sessions so far. We had one on intro to AI, so very introductory, that you and your colleague Liz Woodfield led. We had one called How to Get the Most Out of Gemini. Gemini is our business approved AI tool. And then the third was how to write prompts that actually work. Future sessions that we're planning to do are on how to use AI for career development, how to write custom GPTs, and then we'll probably do a feature on Notebook LM as well. So we've had a lot of success with that. I think what has worked well with the enablement program is, as I said, it was peer to peer. So that's been really great because it's people who know Juniper Square really well that are presenting. They know the context in which everyone is operating in. They can make it relevant to what people are doing. And it's also a really great leadership development opportunity for those that are presenting. We also started really basic. I participated in the first one and we went into breakout groups, and it was really incredible to see how many people in the breakout group said, I have never interacted with AI before. And this is just mind blowing. And they are having their big moment. That's going to help convert them. And then the other thing that I think that's made them really effective is that we did a combination of presentation and workshop. So learning, but then very quickly applying the skills that you're doing in a relaxed, no pressure, no stress type of environment. And that's gone off really well. So that's one. We've also been very focused on bringing AI proficiency into our recruiting process, as you know. So that's something that you and your team have been leading. We've been working with hiring managers to bring questions into the recruiting process to understand candidates' attitudes towards AI and whether and how they're adopting it in both their professional and personal lives. So we want to make sure that folks that we bring into the organization are going to help push us along this journey and make us better in our efforts to embrace AI within our company. So we've done that. We've started doing that with hiring managers. Where we'd love to get to with that is doing it in a more scalable and consistent way. I'd love to get to a place where we have chatbots interviewing candidates on how they interact with AI and being able to score them and assess them consistently across all of our candidates. We are also bringing AI proficiency into our role competencies and role expectations. We have set the expectation internally that everyone at Juniper Square is expected to adopt AI and eventually champion it. We don't need everyone to be a change agent because that's a pretty big ask, but we do need everyone to be open to the change. And the best way to really drive that accountability is to weave it into the performance expectations and performance eventually review and management process. So we're in process of doing this. This is still a bit of a whip, but broadly, how you can think about it is at different levels, we may have different expectations. So at the IC manager level, you may be expected to be open to and adapt to and adopt AI. At the senior manager level, you may be expected, or senior manager to say senior director level, you may be expected to proactively find ways that AI can drive efficiency and improvement within your department. And then VP plus, the question is, how are you creating a vision for AI and how it's going to drastically transform your functional area? So that's something that we're still working through. Eventually, we'd also love to get to a place, and what we're aiming for is to get to a place where we're actually doing a proficiency test and making sure that everyone coming in and at the organization has some basic level of skill with AI that they can actually apply in their day-to-day work. The other thing I would mention, unless am I missing anything there, Tom?
No, I love all of these so far.
Okay. I was just going to get to the other thing that I'd mention here that's extremely important as we implement all of these is measuring the impact. So a couple things that we've done there. We did do a baseline AI survey that was led by our people business partners to understand, from the starting point, what is everyone's attitude towards AI and how frequently are they adopting it or using it in their day-to-day work. So that was something that we did a couple months ago. We'll plan to do that consistently over time so we can measure progress. I mentioned Gemini is our business approved LLM, which means that we can track usage of Gemini, which is great. So that's something that we've looked at as well. And as we add more tools, we'll track more usage. So those are some of the things that we've done broadly. I would also call out within our engineering function where the output throughput productivity is very quantifiable. We've actually put specific targets around productivity enhancement. So within engineering, we're aiming for 30% productivity enhancement through AI. So that's something we've started with that function. And as we get more kind of scientific across different functions, we can definitely scale that elsewhere throughout the organization.
These are so exciting, and I think so many great examples of how just getting started is that first step. Start having the conversation, bring in your peers, try things out. In episode 1, we really talked about just getting uncomfortable, experimenting, jumping in, and seeing where it leads you. And it's been really impactful to see how it wasn't that long ago that these first conversations started. It might be, to a listener with everything you've listed, they may envision that over a year or two period, but a lot of this we're able to do really, really quickly. Something that also really stood out to me here really ties back to when you and leadership first came to the company around this transformation. And something that our co-founder and CEO, Alex, said is that AI isn't about replacing jobs, but what will happen is it will be those with AI and those without AI. And something I'm so grateful for our leadership team and to be able to be a part of this journey is we're ensuring that all of our juniors are going to be on that side of AI, which is going to help them feel more fulfilled in their careers at Juniper Square and beyond. And so to everyone listening today, I hope these are a few examples of where you can get started. The other point that Victoria highlighted is it is really important to think about some of those measurable steps along the way to make sure you truly are adapting adapting this technology, that the mindset shift is occurring, and that your employees feel like they're a part of this journey as well. For me, it has never felt like a top-down initiative. It felt like that think like an owner. We're all in this together. So it's been really, really exciting to be a part of that. Well, with that, in terms of what's next, again, there's no playbook. So when we started this journey, it wasn't like we had a playbook to follow. How do you think about where we are today and where we're going in terms of our AI transformation?
A lot of what I think about in terms of what's next, at least from a people standpoint internally, is scalability. So to date, we've been doing a lot of experimentation. I mentioned some of the ways that we're experimenting with enablement. We're experimenting with how do we get the conversation going internally, different recognition programs. We've started to ask about it in our recruiting process. So I think of the next phase with regards to at least those initiatives is really around how do we deeply ingrain this into everything that we do so it doesn't seem like, oh, it's this new initiative. It's just kind of the way that we do things at Juniper Square. The other thing I would say from a people standpoint, and this is something we've talked a lot about within the people team, is the 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 impact of AI and what AI does drastically changes how we think about management and leadership at Juniper Square, but probably at every company. So I think very traditionally, it's easy to anchor on how many people is someone managing or what is your team size and scope. And AI just drastically flips that on its head. So we need to think of how do we recognize and reward and provide career opportunities for those leaders that are bringing AI into their teams that are not maybe not growing headcount as much as they would otherwise, but they have 5 or 10 different agents that are helping them be 100, 200x more productive than they would have otherwise been. I don't think that our systems today properly reward or incentivize that. So that's something that we have to think about how we evolve over time as AI continues to have its impact.
I think that's great though. And there's so many different steps of how we think about um, the adoption and the different programs, different resources that we could bring in, different levels of expertise, but also like how we think about our workforce planning and what can AI do? How can we free up the time of our juniors to do the things that they love, automate the parts that maybe are super repetitive? And it's really exciting to kind of daydream about like what type of innovation could that bring? What type of energy could that bring to Juniper Square? One of our core goals is to become the top place to work in the private markets. And I think this is one of those really exciting paths to helping us to achieve that goal.
I completely agree.
So, as we've gone through this journey, everything from gaining alignment across the company, AI demo week, these programs and trainings across the company, as our listeners here today are going to be at various different levels, various sizes of companies, what are 2 to 3 things you would recommend to them to be able to go to their peers or their leadership team to get this transformation started within their organization?
Yes. So first of all, for anyone who's embarking on this journey, um, it's exciting. It feels super intimidating. It oftentimes feels like, how am I going to pull this off? But I think once you dip your toes, you will really start to enjoy it, as I know many of us at Juniper Square have. So the first thing I'd say is it's really important to articulate a philosophy around how the company views AI and how you plan to act or react to it, or embrace it. So at Juniper Square, you shared a little bit about this, but our philosophy was that this is a transformational shift. You've probably heard, the analogy of the steam engine back in the Industrial Revolution. So it's a shift of that magnitude. And it's here to stay. So we very much think that this is fundamentally changing how we work, and there is no going back. We use that phrase, it's humans with AI versus humans without AI. And we've very much have communicated or expressed a very optimistic view on the impact that AI can have. I think the odds that our CEO has given is 95% this is going to be a truly great outcome for everyone. 5% it's going to be completely catastrophic. So we're on the right side of that trade. So I think setting the tone and articulating a philosophy and your viewpoint as an organization on AI is the first place to start. I think the second after that is to set a tone that we are all in this together. And I think that's something that we did actually in the same all hands that we articulated our philosophy. We also very much set this tone of we are in this together, we're learning together. We're all going to be successful together. And we as an organization are going to give our team members the resources to help them come up to speed. So I talked about some of the resources that we've done at Juniper Square. There are many, many great examples across several companies that are doing this. But I think making it approachable, making it bite-sized, making it not feel like it's a top-down, but that everyone has a really big role to play is extremely important. Um, and then the third thing that I would say is to, I guess, just do it. Just start interacting with the tools, create casual and lightweight environments for people to experiment and learn. Again, I think in so many of these cases, it's about going from that 0 to 1. And the more that you can create those opportunities in, you know, casual, non-intimidating environments, the more employees or more your team members are really going to love what they can get out of it and see the potential of it. So think if you can find those opportunities in bite-sized chunks, whether it's your all hands, a Slack group, your department meeting, the more excited your team members are going to be about this huge change that is upon us.
I love those. And they're so applicable to anyone listening today, regardless of the industry that they're in, the size of the company that they're in. Just those little things that really lead to the impactful conversations and the impactful changes in mindset, like you talked a lot about today. And I've been able to see that firsthand from that first intro to training. I remember when we logged into that, we thought maybe 150 out of 600 people would show up. It was over 71% of the company showed up. But it shows that when you provide that environment, you start having that conversation, you eliminate some of those intimidated walls. Everyone's just ready to kind of jump in and lead. So thank you so much, one, for joining me today, but thank you for all of your leadership through this. It's been very inspirational, and I really hope a lot of the listeners today are feeling inspired and have one or two things that they can take back to their team. For our listeners, I also want to share that AI isn't something that we're just all responding to. It's something that we can help shape. We're still at the very beginning of this huge transformational change in humanity. And as members of the people team within your organization, you have an incredible opportunity to help shape the way that your company is adapting to this, just like we've been able to do at Juniper Square. So thank you all for tuning in today to the Leadership Collective podcast. There's more episodes to come soon, and I'll actually see you in a couple of those. Thank you.